Welcome to the pre-test training for test administrators. This component of the AIMS pre-test workshop provides guidance that will help you maintain a secure testing environment. This is a Tolleson Union High School District PD squared training. During testing, test administrators should supervise the room at all times and monitor the testing environment to ensure students cannot easily see the answer documents of other students, and no students are communicating. During monitoring, test administrators should be able to walk by each student. During the test, students' desks and tables should be cleared of backpacks and unnecessary materials prior to the distribution of tests and answer documents. Finally, poster-sized versions of AIMS High School Mathematics Reference Sheet and the holistic rubric based on 6th Straight Official Scoring Guide, as downloaded from the Arizona Department of Education website, may remain posted during AIMS testing. All other visual aid displays in the testing room that could assist students while testing must be removed or covered completely. During AIMS, students should be given breaks as directed in the test administration directions. During the administration of both the AIMS writing test and AIMS reading test, brief stretch breaks should be offered approximately every hour during the testing session. The AIMS mathematics test is to be administered in 2 sessions of 90 minutes each, with a significant break after the first session. In general, a brief stretch break should be offered about every hour. The stretch break is highly restricted. During the break, the students may stand for 2 or 3 minutes. This is a controlled testing environment, therefore it is imperative to ensure that the students remain in the room, refrain from talking, and do not use electronic devices. When students are giving a significant break, as directed in the mathematics test, adherence to the test administration directions is paramount. For example, the AIMS mathematics test administration directions declare that the students receive a significant break after completion of Part 1. After the break, students may not go back to Part 1 of the test. All students in the testing room must be working on the same section of the mathematics test. Students should remain in the testing room during the entire scheduled testing session. However, students may be allowed to go to the restroom. If necessary, during testing, only one student may leave at a time. The student's test materials must be collected before the student leaves the room and then given back to the student upon returning to the room. AIMS tests are standardized tests with specific expectations regarding student-adult interactions. Test administrators must follow the directions exactly as stated in the test administration directions. The scripted directions will guide the test administrator through the administration of each test and will help ensure proper testing procedures. Please review the scripted directions in advance to become familiar with these symbols and testing procedures. The SAY symbol indicates the directions you are to read aloud to the students. The text is printed in bold type. The open book symbol indicates places where you should use a test book or answer document to show sample items or to make sure students have turned to the correct page. Information that is provided for the test administrator and that should not be read aloud to the students is printed in italics. To reiterate, read aloud to students only what is printed in bold type and marked with the SAY symbol. Be certain to follow the directions for test administrators that are printed in italics. As evidenced by the script directions, and a standardized test is associated with very specific support. Therefore, when responding to questions from students, it is important to remember that you are allowed to answer student questions that pertain only to the clarification of test administration directions. Furthermore, the Arizona Department of Education provides specific guidelines regarding interactions with students, including but not limited to Test administrators may not assist students in answering questions, such as explaining concepts, test questions, answer choices, or any other form of help that could influence a student's response. Test administrators may not translate, reword, or explain any test question or any answer choices. Ames test items may never be discussed before, during, or after test administration, and all test administration directions must be followed and must be read aloud to all students exactly as scripted in the directions. Documentation of student participation in Ames and successful completion of the test is through the sign-in, sign-out process. Students are required to sign in when they are given the test materials. At the end of the testing session and prior to exiting the room, each student must sign out, indicating that he/she has turned in their test book and answer document. Sign-in and sign-out sheets must be kept at the school for verification of student testing status. In the unlikely event that a student needs to leave school before completing a particular content area of Ames reading, writing, mathematics, etc., including those students who leave due to illness, are ineligible to continue the test for that content area. The test administrator should inform the student that he or she will not be permitted to finish that content area when the student returns to school. Collect the student's test book and answer document, and dismiss the student from the testing room. The student's test book and answer document are to be returned to the test coordinator. The answer document is to be returned with the scorable test materials. The Arizona Department of Education recommends that documentation identifying the time the student left the room, the content area being tested on that day, and the reason for leaving early be kept and then later attached to the student's test report. This must also be accompanied by the student signing out and indicating that he or she was not completed with the test. Very specific instructions are outlined by the Arizona Department of Education regarding student and test administrator actions when a student finishes a test. Students must inform the proctor of testing status by closing his or her test book, placing the answer document face down on top of the test book, raising his or her hand. Once the test administrator collects the test materials, the student then is to remain quiet until the end of the testing session. Students may read or do classwork silently while waiting for the scheduled test session to end. Electronic devices may not be used. While confirming the student's test completion status, the test administrator must verify the student has put his or her name and other important information on the front of the test book and on the front of the answer document. Collect and appropriately organize the test materials as required by the test coordinator. Students who need additional time beyond the allotted time must be allowed to continue testing immediately following the scheduled testing session. The testing environment must remain secure. No talking, use of electronic devices, monitored, etc. Therefore, if your school is using an alternate test environment, the students must be escorted to another secure testing location. Students requiring additional time beyond the allotted time should have a lunch or another meal, if appropriate, while testing on Ames. These students should have the meal brought to them, and the student should remain in the secure testing environment while eating. For each content area of Ames, students must finish the entire test, including all sessions, by the end of the school day. When all students have finished the test, or when the allotted time for the session is ended, follow the aforementioned procedures for students who need additional time to finish. collect all remaining test materials from the students, and account for all test books and answer documents prior to dismissing students. The Arizona Department of Education identifies specific directions for test administrators regarding the inspection of test materials after the testing session. As I read the expectations, focus on each item to ensure that you have the knowledge and skills necessary to comply with each element. If after participating in this training and reading the test administration directions, you feel that you lack the knowledge or skills to comply, work with your test coordinator to close the gap. After testing, the test administrator should inspect each test book and answer document to ensure the following. Test books and answer documents have been separated into individual stacks. Test books must not contain answer documents. The student has completed his or her name, teacher name, test administrator, school, and district on the front of the test book and answer document. The pre-ID label has been applied in the designated location on the front of the answer document, or if no pre-ID label is available, the student demographic data grid located on the back of the answer document has been completed. Confirm that the student's handwritten name on the front of the answer document matches the student name on the pre-ID label or the student name hand bubbled on the back. The letter to designate the test book form on the form the student used is correctly coded on the answer document. The accommodation information on the answer document has been correctly coded for all students receiving standard accommodations. The student's mark in the answer documents have been made with a number 2 pencil, and any erasers are complete and neat. The light marks and marks made with color pencil, ink, or felt tip pen, marker, or highlighter cannot be properly scored. These marks should be marked over with a number 2 pencil. See the completing student identification information in the test administrator directions for more detailed instructions. Thank you for participating in this portion of the training. Please continue the workshop by watching the next video. Contact your test coordinator if you have questions, comments, or concerns.